Hello, my name is Tania Shah, and you are here with Inthano Legal. I am a co-founder, and I am also a business attorney. Now, while I am a business attorney, I am not your business attorney. And I think it's going to be very important for you to check in particular with the laws of your particular state as they apply to business entities. And that is what we're going to talk about today. I already did a series in my last vlog about what are the myths behind even becoming a business entity. And now I want to talk about how we choose our business entities. So I'm going to do a quick run through of the different types that I'm going to particularly talk about. I'm going to talk about the sole proprietorship. I'm going to talk about the LLC. I'm going to talk about the subchapter S election corporation. And I will talk about our C corporation. So first of all, when should you be a sole proprietor? I would say that if you have a business, almost never. If you are a one-woman show and you're not quite ready to take your hobby or your side hustle to the next step, then it might be that all you need is a sole proprietor. However, if you are dealing with people and with money, make sure you do have some sort of insurance if you are a sole proprietor. Because remember, with the sole proprietorship, it's one owner and you have unlimited liability. And there's no separation between yourself and your company. You know, there's no formal paperwork or anything like that. And remember, if something happens to you, you are the business. So the business cannot continue without you. So why do many of our business owners become what we call limited liability companies? Well, limited liability companies were invented not very long ago, actually. It's a very new 21st century type of business, particularly for one person LLCs. I remember when I became a lawyer a long time ago, you couldn't even be a one-person LLC. And then shortly thereafter, you could. And the thing about a limited liability company is its legal simplicity. So basically, you get all of this legal simplicity of being a sole proprietor, but all of the protection of being a corporation. And so what I mean by that is you can have unlimited number of owners. You have a simple structure in your operating agreement that can pretty much say what it wants, given certain limitations, unlike a subchapter S corporation or a regular corporation where you have very strict corporate formalities. The biggest thing is the limitation of liability, right? So the operating agreement is the agreement between yourself and the company. It's what creates the separation. And that's the one that says, hey, you as the owner, you don't have any liability. The company that you have just created has all of the liability. Also, when it comes to actual paperwork, what you really need is you need to file those articles of organization. You need a separate tax ID number. You definitely need an operating agreement, even if it's just you. And what a lot of attorneys do, and I think this is really important, is what we call a next steps memorandum, which is what tells you now you're an LLC, so what do you do with it? And we do have a blog series on that as well. Okay, what about a subchapter S corporation? Well, a subchapter S corporation, remember, is a tax election. It's not the name of a corporation. So you would file for the corporation and then you would file for a subchapter S. And that is something that you want to talk about in particular with your CPA and if it makes sense to be taxed as a subchapter S. Now, there can only be a maximum of 100 shareholders. They have to be all United States citizens. There's only one class of stock, so you can't have preferred, you can't have stock A, stock B. The entity is not taxed. The profits and losses sort of pass through. And what I think is one of the drawbacks sometimes if you are operating a relatively simple one-owner business with the actual entity in of itself is the corporate formalities. So you have to have a tax ID number, you have to have articles of incorporation, you have to have bylaws, stock certificates, shareholder agreements, organizational board resolutions. And because the corporate formalities are so strict, it's also easy not to follow them, not intentionally, but by mistake. And what you don't want to happen is for anybody to conflate you with the company and come after you personally because you didn't follow the corporate formalities. Now, I mentioned this in my last vlog about choosing a business entity, but remember, you can have the best of both worlds. You can have the legal simplicity of an LLC and also elect to be taxed as a subchapter S corporation. So if you are at that threshold income where it makes sense to be taxed that way, and that's something you would ask your CPA, you could have both. Now, what about the C corporation? So the C corporation is essentially when the corporation gets taxed separate from their shareholders. And that really is best if you are doing any sort of fundraising. You have venture capitalists, you have investors, and they often will want to invest in a C corporation because the money doesn't pass through the profits, the losses, the taxes directly to the shareholders. And that sort of brings me to one last point I wanted to make, which is where do you incorporate? And lots of people say Delaware, Delaware, Delaware. That is true for something like a C corporation, where the shareholders want, the investors want the best possible laws to apply. So they will ask the incorporator or the main shareholders to incorporate in Delaware. However, for smaller companies or companies that don't plan to do series fundings, it doesn't make any sense, because even if you file your LLC in Delaware, you have to almost always, in every state, but you would still check with your state, file in that state, and you're still subject to the laws of that state. So it doesn't always make sense, because then you're paying double, especially if you don't have any ties to Delaware. So that is my short and sweet segment about choosing your business entity. And we will see you here later at In the Know Legal.